Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. I'm just going to wait a few minutes for our meditators to join us. If you're just here, if you're new, if you're joining, if you're here, if you're new, if you're joining us. Hello, everyone. I'm just setting up some of the technical stuff here on my end. All right, we will give it 1 minute before we dive into how to harmonize our relationship with technology. If you're just getting here, I invite you to start by taking a few deep breaths. Hi, everyone. All right. So there's a few of us here today on this lovely Monday evening. Thank you so much for joining. While we're waiting for our friends and our fellow meditators to join us, could you please post? Okay, so I'm going to ask a different question today. Could you please post your name, firstly, where you're joining from, where in the world, where in the country, and which one of your devices, hardware, software, whichever, you use the most. Like, what device do you currently have the most frequent relationship with? So you can post that. It could be your phone, it could be an app, it could be your laptop, it could be your wireless headphones. Oh, thank you so much, Ginger. I so appreciate this. And you know, while we're still waiting on some of our other meditators and friends to join, I will say that I haven't heard a lot about this topic, being in the spiritual world and the healing world, which is like half of my life, technology is just this like evil thing like over there, And even today, I work in tech, and I think this is probably the alchemist within me, but I truly believe that every single thing in our lives, in our material reality, from plastic bottles to recalcitrant aspects of humanity, our own personality, as well as our technology, like all these grimy things, have the potential for deep and meaningful alchemy. And one part of that is certainly our relationship with technology. Oh, missing most of what I'm sorry. I believe my mic and all the setup is good. So maybe someone else can let me know. Hi, May from the Netherlands. Hey, Ginger. So I would maybe try resetting your internet, hearing you now. Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Lulu, for confirming that. So it is 3 minutes past the hour. Thank you, Farnaz. Thank you so much. All right, so welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is only my second live ever at Insight Timer, and this live is part of my series of offerings on Insight Timer called the Quantum Human. And it's all about how we get to, keyword being get, interact with technology that is pervasive in our world, as we know, and use it as a catalyst to draw our awareness within and see what is there to learn, what is there to reveal, what aspect of to use the aspect of technology, our relationship with the outer world, to look within and see what lies there. And this is, again, there's 1,000 different paths, right? 1,000 paths to the inner workings. Mine is specific to using technology, which we're going to do anyway, whether we're conscious of it or not. So with that in mind, if you are just joining me, welcome again. The question for the day for all of you to either reflect on personally or share in the chat is, you know what, I'm going to change the question. My question is this: in this moment, if you breathe into your body, if it's available to you, float your eyes shut just for a second. If you were a battery, what is your current level of charge? It's Monday evening. I'm in Eastern Standard Time, so it's 4 p.m. here. Maybe you're at the end of your day. Maybe you're still in the middle of your day. Maybe you have a lot going on. What is the charge level if your battery, if your being currently had a little display? What number would that display show? Is it 20%? Is it 100%? 30%? That's okay. Yeah, that's a good one. 70%. Good for you. I'm around the 75 at the moment, so that's great. So just feel free to keep sharing it. But this is where you're at in the moment, right? Like this is your current energy level. You have several hours of the day, and this is where we're at. And so, you know what? I'm so sorry. I just realized I never introduced myself. My name is Arya. I am an alchemist and a quantum temple priestess. And that is a weird job title, I know, but to me, that means that I follow an inward path of devotion, reflection, revelation, and study, even when it comes to things like sacred sciences, quantum physics, our relationship with time, space, matter, and certainly our relationship with technology. The inner path, for me, helps me understand the technicalities, the workings, the mechanics of my inner universe. That certainly includes energy, frequency, vibration, emotion, mentality, past, present, future. And with that, I get to have a say in how I relate to technology, certainly, but also all aspects of life. So to me, it has absolutely been an empowering journey. So that is a little bit of who I am, and our guidance for today is sort of based off of that. So let's now tune back in to how full, how charged we're feeling today. So some of us are 30%, some of us are 70%. If it is available to you, we're going to do a short reconnection practice. So if it is available to you, I would ask you to float your eyes closed gently. And if it is not available to you, I invite you to listen and just keep a steady, gentle, full breath. Regardless of whether your eyes are open or closed, I invite you to draw your breath into the lower parts of your body, into your diaphragm, into your belly, into your hips if you can manage it. And as you are inhaling and as you are exhaling, let your breath not just move up and down, but also side to side. Our breath actually in the body follows a spiral. It spirals downward, expanding in all directions. And then when we exhale, that spiral collapses a little bit like an accordion, and then we exhale all of it out. I also invite you to pull some of your attention and focus, maybe away from the screen or whatever is in front of you, into your back body, the back of your head, the back of your neck, your shoulder blades, upper, mid, lower back, down to your hips, and see if you can settle your focus on the back of your tailbone, on the tip of your tailbone, but the back of it. And breathe there, one full breath, and exhale. Breathe in again. Expand your hips as if you are breathing breath directly into your hips, as if you had a set of lungs in your hips somehow magically. And while you are accordioning your breath into your lower body, your focus is on the tippy tip of your tailbone. Let's take one breath in coherence with one another as we say a silent hello, a silent welcome to all of the meditators who have gathered here today from different parts of the world, from different parts of the country, all with a like-minded intention. And see on your next breath if you can breathe in some gratitude for that, and that you are part of this, an active part of this. And exhale that gratitude back out into the world. We are here, we are connected, and so it is. With your eyes closed and with your focus on the tip of your tailbone, start to visualize and feel into your visualization a single cord extending from your tailbone down into the floor, into the ground. Draw your tailbone down even lower and even lower. If you're sitting in a building, it passes through all of the stories of the building and it touches the ground. Keep breathing. And as this cord drops lower and lower into the ground, into the earth, let your breath sink into this grounding cord. When you reach the surface of the earth, lovingly, thankfully, joyfully press into the earth, the soil. Take one moment here, one breath, and feel. See if you can feel or imagine the sense experience of rich, dark, nourished soil, fertile soil, grasses, mosses, the very soil that creates our forests in the earth. And drop your grounding cord and see on your breath in if you can inhale some of that richness, some of that moisture, some of that nourishment. And see if you can thank it for being perfect exactly as it is. And on your next exhale, pass this top soil layer and go deeper into the lower parts of the soil, into harder rock. Feel this hardened rock, the stability of the planet, the stability of us, part of the gravitational field, our anchoring. As you continue to breathe in and out at any pace, the pace that matches you, you don't have to follow the pace that I'm guiding you through. Drop your grounding cord even deeper into the deeper layers of the earth, past the crust. Feel into, if you can, the rich hot magma. And on your inhale, see if you can breathe whatever energy you feel in the earth up into your body. Let it wash over you. Let it nourish you exactly as you are now. If you need to exhale with a sigh, if that's available to you in the space that you are in, let it be so. Give your voice, give your body permission. If you need to move your neck, shift your shoulders a little bit, wiggle your fingers and toes, do so, because you are drawing in raw, beautiful source energy, and you are breathing it in gratefully, gloriously into your body. You are sipping it up into your tailbone and bringing it up and letting it settle into your heart in that same spiral pattern that spirals into your legs, into your hips, and up into your chest and simply settles there. And allow yourself to receive the richness that lives here, that is always here, whether we're conscious of it or not. With your next few breaths, draw your grounding cord even deeper into the core of the earth until you reach what you understand to be the heart of the earth. For me, the heart of the earth is this yellow, almost iridescent, pulsing crystal. That's how it feels like to me. It can feel like whatever it feels like to you. It could be a 1,000-petaled lotus. It could be an orb. It could sing. It could have color. It could have richness. It could have sound. When you visualize this part of the earth, whatever you imagine it to be, plug your grounding cord directly into it. This could feel like roots finding their way into a crevice. It could feel like a USB plugging right in, or a Thunderbolt 3 making a satisfying click. It's your visualization, it's your imagination. However you choose to do it, plug into it. On an inhale, draw up and in the pulse of the earth, the song of the earth, the radiance that keeps our planet alive, that keeps all of us alive, that is the engine upon which all life exists in this dimension, in this space-time. If you can manage it, curl the corners of your mouth up towards the heavens and offer a smile. Offer gratitude and see if you can allow yourself to open and receive a little bit more. See if you can soften your belly. See if you can soften your hips. It may help you to make very small circular motions with your hips, with your arms, maybe spiraling your chest a little bit, and to see if you can draw in and receive more nourishment, more source connection, more power into your lower body and up into your chest, tickling the bottom of your heart, the bottom of your lungs. Really, it's as if light is radiating out of your diaphragm and now filling your upper body, your jaw, your eyes, your nose, your mind, your ears, your shoulders. Draw this in, smile. You may see this energy as millions of light particles flooding you. You may see this energy as pure light in any particular color. Let it be what it is. And when you have reached what you feel is your max capacity that you can't possibly receive anymore, sip in a little bit more. Allow yourself to radiate this into your physical environment. If you're sitting in your room, if you're sitting in your car, as if you are simply the conduit. And this raw source power of the earth is not just here for you, but it is radiating outwards into your cells, into every corner and crevice, and out into your space. Breathe here for a couple more minutes. Breathe deeply, breathe fully. See if you can soften your back, your neck. Soften any rigidity that you might be holding in any part of your body and breathe in more light, more power, more grace, more nourishment in those places. You know, the thing about our devices is that they can only ever be charged to 100%. That is their fullness, that is their capacity. But the human battery, the human consciousness, is wired to work with infinite sources, such as the source of the earth, the heart of the earth, the heart of the heavens, the universal heart. And we are, in our highest octave, actually very naturally programmed to function in overflow. When I think of, monks and priests and ascended masters of all lineages, of all of the ages, to me, their energy, certainly radiant and luminous, but on a practical level, I always get the feeling that they are functioning from infinite source, true infinite life and light force. If it's available to you, if your eyes were closed, softly, maintaining a soft gaze, open them and welcome back. If you shared with us, May and Ginger, you shared with us the battery level that you were feeling, I would love and invite you, if you feel called, to put in where your personal battery number is in this moment. Is it the same? Is it lower? Is it higher maybe? So if you feel called, please do share that in the chat, or even unto yourself, make a note. Amazing. I'm so glad. Thank you, Blake. I really appreciate that. So, like I said, humans have the capacity to function from a state of overflow, yet, you and I may not have access to that, or it may feel like you and I don't have access to that, but the truth is that we do. And so that's a little bit of what I'm going to go into today. Now, I mentioned, I call myself a quantum temple priestess, and part of the priestess path stems from or unfolds from a devotional path. And so this is a path that certainly includes a very practical and engaged daily, almost minute to minute cultivation of our relationship with the divine, with God, with the universal mind, with oneness, right? Now, to you, this could look like religion, philosophy, ideology. It could look like prayer, song, devotion, yoga, meditation. It could look like connection with nature, right? So when you're feeling into your power source, as you just did, when we eat food that gives us the biological energy we need to maintain all our biological functions in life. But we all know, if you're on Insight Timer, you are well versed and very wise and awakened to the knowing that we are not just our physicality, right? So even though we've gone to sleep at night and we've eaten food today, we may still feel tired on average at 4 p.m. on a weekday. And so we are now wise to the fact that there is spirit energy, emotional energy, and we are now in a time in this, season of Aquarius energy. And I believe today the sign of Mercury is also in Aquarius. We actually have a lot of energy in the zodiacal archetype that is Aquarius, the water bearer, the revolutionary, the sign that is associated with electricity, innovation, technology, networks, connectivity, right? And it's an air sign. So it's also associated with our mentality, our conscious and our unconscious mind. And as of today, there's, the planet Pluto, Mercury, the sun, and in a couple of days, there's also, I believe, a new moon in Aquarius. So we have a lot of energy in our mind, in our mentality. So like we just did, this practice of coming to earth, grounding, connecting to our infinite power source becomes sort of essential, right? When you have to charge your battery for any one of your devices, those power sources, the power sources of our material world, engines, power plants that light our that give electricity and hydro to our cities across the world, they function from finite sources. That energy runs out. But light force, spirit force, God force, universal cosmic force, the love of the earth as an energy, as a frequency, is by its nature infinite. So every moment of every day, we have the option to access that and allow it to move through us for all, through us for our work, through us for our families. So that is the baseline of what our talk here is about today. So we always have access to this, but the goal, and this is where we have to be very careful between our personality attachment to spiritual practices and what our soul requires for our gnosis and our growth, right? Because there is a difference. The goal here is not to be in a permanent state of high power, because our biological reality, our bodies, even our minds, need sleep, need rest, need restoration, need laughter and play and silliness and joy, need to experience the range of human emotions that includes randomness and awkwardness and innocence, right? We don't need this energy all the time. What we're here to access is almost a sense of trust. When we need more energy than our biological body can produce, we know, we are practiced, and we have the toolkit, the resources, and the receptivity, as well as the trust to draw up this power, this energy, so that it serves the good of all. And so the thing that I actually wanted to talk about today, like today's main subject for this live, is automations. Right? Automations, as we understand it from our tech world, And so I'm going to go into a little bit of that, and then we're going to bring it back into the quantum human. So I looked up the actual definition, like what does automation actually mean? And it has two related definitions. One of them, I wrote it down here. It is the process of predetermining decision criteria, processes and sub-processes, the pathways of flowcharts and related outcomes. Key word here being predetermining how everything flows, processes, decisions, criterias, actions, and outcomes. That entire thing, when it is automatic, we call this an automation process. The related definition, and this is specific to the tech world, is that it requires little to no human intervention. We are going to come back to that one. So I may be dating myself here, but I was thinking about this the other day. Do you remember maybe 10 years ago, the process of ordering food? Like, this is life before Uber. You'd have to find a restaurant, or likely restaurants would send pamphlets and menus to your door. Like, I live in a city, so in my apartment, you'd get a flood of them. I never see them now. But you get these menus, and then you have to call the restaurant, place your order. It's either cash on delivery, or you have to give your credit card number over and over again on your phone. And then the restaurant gets a delivery person, and then you have to sometimes pay extra for that, and then you get your food. It is it requires a lot of human effort, right? Versus Uber Eats today. And the other thing I was thinking of, again, super dating myself, but I remember the process of hailing a cab, like standing somewhere, you're running late, and you're frantically like looking left, looking right, because you don't know which direction the potential cab is going to come from. And then you get in the cab and you tell them where you're going, and sometimes you have to argue with the cabbie on a good direction, and then you have to like pay them cash or credit card, right? Again, we don't do any of this now if we're taking Lyfts or Ubers. So we experience the joy and the benefits and the convenience of automation in our lives, right? And in these examples, like, sure, it's great, I suppose. I absolutely enjoy it. Now, in tech, about 30 years ago, the process of taking all the bits and bytes of data, all sorts of information, and running it through these processes, through flowcharts, this was called machine learning. This was called big data, right? And this is not old. It's been going on for like decades and decades. About 7 to 10 years ago, the marketing phrase and the consumer version, the consumer phrasing of this was named artificial intelligence, which is where we get like AI today. Now, AI is a super generic term because it includes a whack load of things, including the process of big data and machine learning, including running it through learning algorithms, running it through a variety of predetermined, keep that word in mind, right? That was the definition when I just introduced automation. Predetermined flowcharts, if this, then that. That is a very common algorithm that's used. And so now we're here today, AI is a thing. And so one of the problems, I mean, of the many potential problems, one of the active problems this is what I actually was just in a meeting on Friday where we were discussing this at my job. And as some of you might know, I work in health tech. And the problem was when AI powers something, when this big data automation mechanism that we today understand as AI powers something like ChatGPT, for example, you can sometimes get good information because it's gone through and like synthesized all of the pages on the World Wide Web, and it can give you information, right? If you're like, what day of the week is July 3rd, it will likely give you the correct answer. The problem, and this is common, there's like so many Reddit threads on this. One of the many problems is that it's a lying liar. And this is a term we commonly use, right? Like ChatGPT, yeah, it's great, but it's a lying liar. And what that means is when this mechanism of process automation, data ingestion, all of the decision criteria When, as a user, I ask it something that it does not know, it makes it up. So this is like, if you, I don't know if this has happened to you, this has happened to me, when you're in a relationship with someone who tells the truth 80% of the time, right? It's not all the time, they're not lying all the time, but you never know when they're just making stuff up. You can never trust that this is consistently correct. So this brings up in the tech world an interesting conversation on responsibility and accountability, right? So if you ask ChatGPT something and it gave you the wrong answer, and you, assuming it was correct and true, went forth and did things with it, who is responsible? And who is accountable for those actions? And so these are some of the questions in the tech world. Now, let's all take a breath together, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And let us take this conversation, automation, predetermined processes and sub-processes, responsibility and accountability. Let us draw them in, take them inward, and see what that reveals within our inner workings. So I think almost everyone here, if not everyone, would agree that everything is energy, including our thoughts, our emotions. And currently, our process, like how energy is processed in the body, is there'll be a spark of mental energy in my mind that will cause an idea, a thought. And if I choose to give that thought more energy, I can then pull it down and make an action out of it. Like, oh, my thought can be, I haven't eaten mushrooms in a long time. I'm going to add mushrooms as a side dish to my meal today. And then my hands will go to the market, get mushrooms, wash them, prepare them, and I'll eat the meal, right? Like that is a natural flow chart, if you call it. We do have automations in the human body that serve an incredible purpose, right? We have automations in our cardiovascular system. We have automations in our immune system. We have the autonomous nervous system. If you cut your hand, your body will automatically start healing it, right? In our biological processes, we rely on automation, heartbeat, breath, skin or wounds healing from cuts and bruises, things like that, or even when you're sick, right? These are all automatic. In the body, automatic means that there is no conscious effort. If you have a cut, you don't have to consciously be like, skin, heal now, you're not healing fast enough, right? Oh, I'm sorry, there's a question. You asked AI, didn't know the answer. Oh yeah, so actually that's so funny. The question is, can you give an example of when AI didn't know an answer? So just before this, this class, I was like putting together my notes, and I vaguely remember that there was a quote I heard from Yogananda, and I forget what the quote is, but it had the word or the phrasing around like fossilized thoughts, where we become, the essence of the quote was, when our thoughts become so rigid, they become fossilized. That is not the literal quote. I was looking for the actual quote, but I was like, this is the essence. I know it has the word fossilized because it's just, an uncommon word. And I know it was Yogananda. And so I asked ChatGPT and I'm like, this is the essence, this is the quote. Can you give me the quote that relates to this that Yogananda said? And it gave me a quote that had the word fossilized in it. And I was like, I don't think this is it. And so I opened a separate incognito window on my browser and I was like, Yogananda quotes about like mind and rigidity. And I couldn't find it. And then I copied and pasted the quote that ChatGPT gave me, and a completely different dude said it. Like it was a quote, but said by another person, like a completely different human in a completely different time and context. So that's just to answer your question. But again, all you need to do is go on Reddit, and there's like 1,000 different examples of like where it just gave the wrong answer. It's kind of hilarious. So we have automations in our body, but they serve a tremendous purpose, right? They keep our biological life processes going. So I don't have to, when I'm sleeping, I don't have to think about my heart beating and my lungs processing breath. So they serve a good purpose. Where automation becomes a bit tricky is in the mind. Again, I'm saying mind and not brain. So now we are moving past biological processes to mental processes. So in the mind, automation is somewhat helpful. It is helpful when we are, I think of surgeons. Like I worked in a hospital for many years I knew the surgeon once who had a short stint at Doctors Without Borders, right? And he would often say that, you're going about your day, you're exhausted, la, 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 and then something happens, something very chaotic, something violent, and there's no time to think about anything. You just grab the injured person closest to you, you triage them. If they're cut, you suture, if they're bleeding, I forget the word now, but you tie up their wounds so that they don't bleed out. He described it as just, it's not even conscious. Your body is responding to this by doing the things it's trained to do. I would offer that in the process of learning technical skills like how to suture, how to triage a sick patient, how to fix a broken bone, it takes a volume of consciousness and practice and repeating it to learn that skill in the first place. It can then become second nature. It can then become habit. That thing that we were learning then becomes our nature. We draw energy to it in such a way that it becomes what we call our second nature. And then, yes, it can feel like it's automated. I don't have to think a lot to tell you what alphabet comes after B. I know it's C, right? Because again, at one point when I was a child, when you were a child, we learned these things, but now it's second nature. Where automation is not helpful in the mind is, again, those predetermined things. When I gave the example of big data processing, it requires the past as being a perfect indicator of the future, which in fact it is not, right? We can use the past to inform us. And while a lot of the systems of our current material Earth use everything that happened in the past, the energy of the past, the occurrences, as a prediction for our future, we know as conscious beings who are on the spiritual path that what was need not always be. Right? We are awakening to the creator within ourselves so that we can look back and see, oh, this is all of the data and the information from our past. But it's not that great. There's victim consciousness here. There's poverty here. There's lack. There's greed. There's manipulation. I am the 0 point. I am the center point. I can choose to release myself from this so that I can create a future that is more in alignment with my soul and my spirit. That is something that the machines and mechanics of our world are not able to do. This is the mechanics of free will. This is the mechanics of choice in a lot of ways, manifest through the physical form, through the body, through the heart, the soul, the human. So we fall into automation traps in our mind when there's challenge, there's difficulty, there's trauma, right? If you were someone who in some way, either physically or emotionally, was abandoned at birth, that program is going to run through you, right? That's what trauma work and healing aims to resolve. This example might not sit well with everyone, and I apologize in advance, but I used to have a group of friends in high school that would complain incessantly about boys, right? So we're all young, we're teenagers. We obviously all went on dates that didn't go well, and the guys weren't great. And so we'd keep talking about this. We'd keep running the program. And I don't know, I lost touch with them, but I know for me, because I ran that program on loop, repetitively, it actually became how I related to the other half of my species for a long time, completely unconscious. And so this is the issue, right? With raw data, sense experiences, emotions through our life as we are children, moving into, all the chaos that is teenage years, having desires, changes in life, not knowing what to do with them. And then these energies sort of get locked in place. And then we continue to exist from this place completely oblivious to the fact that this is running our life. It is running our world, and it need not be so. I resolved that program, by the way. I no longer run from that place, but I'm giving it as an example of this notion when I first introduced automation, looking at the predetermined decision criteria. So what all things are predetermined? Another more recent example is when I started on the spiritual path, and maybe some of you can attest to it. I looked at the world as high vibe and low vibe. So if I met you, I would either code and categorize you based on an algorithm in my unconscious, and I would either slate you as a low vibe person or a high vibe person. I do the same with places, things, relationships, experiences. A lot of us do that when we are caught in the personality frame, in our personality's understanding of spirituality. It's a phase. Some people don't go through it at all. I certainly did. And the check boxes that would make someone high vibe or low vibe were things like, oh, they practice yoga or they don't. Oh, they, I don't know, they're wearing a crystal or they aren't. And when I was not conscious of it, I didn't know what those decision criteria even were. So when we pause here, when we look to see what automations are running our finances, our governments, Uber Eats, and every automation, every mechanical and computational thing in the world, this is what I did with it. I pulled it in and I was like, where am I running automations, and what automations are serving me? So again, back to our biological automations, they serve our life and living, right? Our heart beats and our lungs breathe on an automated rhythm so that we are alive while we're sleeping and when we're not thinking about breath, right? So it serves life. Do my automated thoughts, if I have a song stuck in my head or a conversation from 5 years ago or an anticipated conversation that has not happened and may never happen in my mind, is that serving life? Is that serving expansion? Is that serving love? What am I serving? And this is the whole responsibility and accountability piece. And it also links up to power, right? So when we started this call, we anchored in and we felt this beautiful vibe of energy, like intense, lovely, we're all nourished. And so now you and I and each of us have to decide what to do with this energy. What is it going to serve? Is it going to serve love or is it going to serve judgment? Is it serving our higher mind or is it serving our lower mind? Is it serving past trauma and things that separate us from unity consciousness, from oneness, from love, from the love that I am, you are, we are? Or is it serving unity? Is it serving separation? That's like a good question to ask ourselves, right? Is it serving lack or is it serving overflow? Is it serving finiteness or infiniteness? And in asking ourselves these questions, we can then see where our sense of responsibility, accountability, and integrity lie. This piece is missing from our material world technology, right? Like, we haven't sorted this. My sense is, as we sort this for each and every one of us internally, we will then command this into the vibration of the larger earth. And this is the difference between us being a victim to life and a victim to tech and falling into maybe lower patterns, addictive patterns, and us being creators of our life experience and purposefully, intentionally, lovingly, with a clear direction of where our soul, mind, heart's growth is, using our tech to amplify that, divinate, play with it, but it doesn't have power over us. We are the power that we are. And so when we struggle with our own power or our own self-accountability and self-responsibility, a really good way to describe this is addictions. Like, we've all had our share of addictions. Maybe it's a small thing, maybe it's a really big thing. Maybe it's destructive, maybe it's just annoying, right? Whatever this is for you or the people in your life, when we are inside an addiction pattern, we feel a void of power. We feel a void in us, and we fill that void with artificial and finite sources of power. A tub of ice cream, a bag of chips, escapism, in whatever that might be. It might be, using plant or animal medicines. It might be just checking out. It might be disconnecting from the people who love us. It might be binge watching a show, or playing a video game for 17 days continuously. Whatever our escape or addictive pattern is, we are disconnected from our true infinite source of power, and we're finding false power sources, and we're trying to fill a need. And again, this is not a space of judgment. This is how it was for me when I was in these patterns. And so now when I find myself kind of veering to the direction of some of these patterns, it is my discipline, it is now my practice to anchor in, feel, and know from within what infinite source feels like in the finiteness of this form, in the finiteness of this body. And when I am in overflow, when I cannot possibly receive any more, I allow it to pour out into my surroundings, which is the activity you guys just did at the beginning. Right? And now, the power that I have, the energy that I have, the place that I am sourced from serves release, serves healing. Maybe in that moment, it serves creation over addiction. In a different moment, it might serve love over fear or judgment. In a different moment, it might serve overflow over lack, right? And so it can serve different things. And so this is where I believe when we unplug from the false matrix, from the false ideas, the false beliefs, the finiteness, the unnatural sources of energy, and we plug into our infinite source energy, the mechanics of life are therefore different. And so yesterday on Sunday, I was at a kirtan. And for those of you who do not know, a kirtan is a call and response, devotional expression of divine joy. And the call and response part is interesting because it's not just everyone comes and sings a song. It's not a choir. The call and response opens up the relating centers of our heart and our voice. And so someone sings a thing and then there's a response. We mirror each other. So on a quantum energy level, kirtans are really, really great to access and open our relational bodies so that it is now safe for us to relate from our hearts again to each other, also to our lives and in the world. And so when I came out of the kirtan, because again, right, like we learn a chant, we repeat it so many times, there's a call and response, there's melody, there's rhythm. And so on the walk back, these songs were stuck in my head. They were looping. And again, now looping thoughts can normally be super annoying, but in this case, they were causing me upliftment. As I was walking through like cold, dark city streets, the sun had set, it was super windy. Everyone's like bundled and covered because I'm in Toronto. It's like super cold here. And I was like, right, I looked at people in the eye. I think I even smiled at perfect strangers just because I was uplifted. So here, the automation of this song, of this memory, of this energy that connects me to you to me and us and each and every one of us to each other makes it safe for me to relate to the world. And for that hour, for that evening, for the rest of that evening, my automated thoughts served me. So this is an example of how we can go from having looping thoughts that take from us and transmute them convert them through prayer, through meditation, through kirtan, through practice, through through making a choice to come into the inner quantum temple and taking responsibility for our thoughts and actions and starting to learn that they are in fact related, and they are related to our emotionality. How I feel about myself is related to how I feel about the world, right? So all of this and more is, to me, the great medicine of coming within. And to me, this is a revolutionary thing, right? The inner revolution, as you call it, by making the choice every day, twice a day, 6 times a day, however often, to come into the inner quantum temple, to take what you've experienced in the outer world and pull it in and see how this inner sci-fi drama unfolds, right? So this journey that I explained with automations, understanding what they are technically, is one part of it. And often we miss out on the part that involves taking it in and being like, where is this me? What am I learning here? What energy am I knowingly or unknowingly creating? And transmute that, switch gears, upgrade, and then exist in the world from that place. When ChatGPT first came out, I will admit, I hated it. If you started talking to me about it, I would be like, oh my God, I poured so much life force energy into hating this thing until one of the things I did was this work with automation that, I just shared with you guys, but I must have done that like 40, 50 times with like individual aspects, breaking down what makes, I did that with neural nets. I did that with learning algorithms. Again, I'm a super nerd. You don't have to do all this. I already did it. So I'm here, I'm just sharing it. My point is that this entire offering that I have on Insight Timer, the Quantum Temple, the course Glitchless, that has a more basic foundation understanding of how we can relate to our inner quantum human in an incredible way. All of that comes from this work that I kind of put myself through, because it served my learning, and it served learning a new way of this is a herbalism. This is a tenet of herbalism. If you are learning to work with the spirit of the herb, of any herb, be it calendula, be it bark of willow, part of the energy exchange is that we honor the divine in the plant, right? We say namaste when we start and end yoga classes because I'm honoring the divine in you. My hatred of ChatGPT, what I referenced, was I couldn't see the medicine. I had so much resistance to the automations within me. I hadn't made peace to it, so I couldn't see what the teaching was. And that made it bad and wrong and horrible, and it's going to ruin the earth and all of this stuff, right? And so the beauty here is whatever word we use to call it, right? Like in a moment, whether we say it out loud or whether it's within, when we honor the divinity of something, when we honor something as perfect exactly as it is, it reveals its true shades, it reveals its true colors. And then the beauty is we can work with it. And as we come into self-mastery, we can then figure out the right place and the right time to use it. And this is the mastery of tools and cultivation and refining that, right? In my course, Glitchless, one of the examples I give is if you saw a master swordsman, right? Someone who's I don't know, like I'm thinking like a Japanese swordsman with like the perfect sword, right? It is likely that they have an incredible sword that they themselves handcrafted and did the whole fire and ice, whatever the mechanism is. And it's personal to them, or it was gifted by like it's 900 generations of sword makers or things like that. But if you give them a blunt kitchen knife, their mastery is such that even a blunt kitchen knife is artful, is magnificent in their hands, because we may ooh and ah and focus on how amazing the sword is, but the sword is just the tool. The skill is of the master, and the master is the he and the she and the they, the aspect within us that masterfully uses and chooses every tool and technology in the right place, in the right time, for the right moment, and does not outsource power, accountability, and responsibility, because that all lies with us. And so I will end this talk here. We are a few minutes over. I do apologize. I so appreciate all of you sticking around with me on this like spiral wild journey through automations and into the quantum human within. And I wanted to thank you. I see all the hearts. I so appreciate all of your gratitude. I appreciate your donations that came through. You guys are a generous and lovely bunch. So thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the donations. Thank you for choosing to be here and making the choice to perhaps elevate your Monday. And saying yes to taking that journey within. Oh, I see there's a question. In that case, only mathematics is the mastery. You know what? A lot of my close friend, Katrina Boss, who is also an Insight Timer, she teaches Tantra and meditation and Kundalini yoga, and she is a mathematician by trade. She would absolutely agree with you. I remember, I'm not a big math person. I understand things more in terms of, in terms of functionality of the soil, the ecosystem of trees. A lot of my learning and training actually comes from forest medicine. And obviously I'm sure there's incredible math in that, but my mind and spirit and my inner eye don't see, I don't see, perceive, know, and feel music and math. I experience it differently. I experience it more relationally. And so mastery of relationship, mastery of our emotions, mastery of our love and connection, that is, I think, personally part of my devotional path. But again, it doesn't have to be yours. So if for you it's math, like go with it. Math has a romance to it. Math has relationship to it, right? And so if it's that for you, that's incredible and amazing. But I'm not of the belief that there's only one way. I'm not of the belief there's only one path. Because we are manifold and we are expressed as the many, there are many manifold paths for us. I choose to talk about technology here simply because it's part of my experience. I integrated it. I obviously know a lot about automations and a lot of different aspects of tech, and it's I guess it's my lens, and I understand that it is so pervasive. Technology is pervasive in our world, and so is consciousness. The difference is we may not be there, our level of consciousness may not be very high, but there is still consciousness involved, and maybe a low vibe of consciousness. And so as we draw this into ourselves, we can flip the paradigm and we can alchemize it, and it can be something different. But yeah, like math, oh my gosh, your son is better at math than you can ever be. That is, respect. That is absolutely not me. I will stay on for questions for another 2 minutes. If you have any questions or comments or something to share, I would love to hear that. But again, officially, we're at a close. So thank you again. Thank you for being here. And I so appreciate, way more of you showed up than I thought you would. I'm going to take a few weeks break. I'm going to India to visit my parents. So I'll be there for most of February. And so I will resume lives in March, continuing this theme, pulling on different aspects of what is happening in technology in our world, how it relates to us, and how we can step into this inner quantum human paradigm to alchemize it, reform it, come into mastery, and then be the masterful swordsman that utilizes this as a tool for sacred creation, to create love, connection, healthy networks, beautiful communities, that uplift things. So that is all for today. Thank you so much. Thank you, Farnaz. I so appreciate it. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. Have a great day, guys. I so appreciate this. Good night. Have a lovely evening. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lulu. Thanks for being here. Oh, thank you for all the hearts, guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you, Judy. I see you. I so appreciate you being here. All right. Have a lovely night, guys. Bye.